This is the Zone Football League.
Welcome back to another episode of the Zone In podcast, where we talk everything Zone Football League across Newcastle. As always, I'm Mason, and joining me today for the last time of the year, I've got Cameron and Wilso here with me. Boys, how are we?
Yeah, good. It was a great big weekend, but bigger for Cam, of course.
I was gonna say we're in some way across all of the games, but Cam was the man of the weekend at all three grand finals, early for some of the lower grade games as well. How are you feeling? How'd you pull up on the Monday?
Yeah, well, my voice is only sort of still coming back to me. You can probably hear it in my voice. It's not quite there still. It's been a painful few days of not being able to speak. I love speaking and I haven't been able to do it, so it's been pretty disappointing, but the weekend was just fantastic. I wouldn't change anything really. It was just perfect for me overall. Overall it was just so enjoyable.
Yeah, and speaking generically for the whole weekend, what a way to wrap out this whole year, the whole season of Zone Football League. Such close games, good entertaining football. Wilso, you were there for the Saturday-Sunday games, Zone 2 and Zone 1. Just as a general sense, what was your feeling of the whole weekend?
Oh, it was. It's probably a too strong a word, but it was epic. I'm like Cam. I just really enjoyed it. I thought the level of football was terrific, and there was so much excitement in the early grades as well, with penalties and the emotion that comes with that, the disappointments and the elation and the comebacks and come from behind wins, and there was just so much to the weekend. And thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought the facilities were really good, I just thought it was a fitting end to what's been a real breakout season, I think just a season for zone football that can be very proud of, and I'm glad that I've been able to be part of it, and it was just thoroughly enjoyable weekend.
Yeah, and as you say about the breakout year, obviously Zone Football been around for a while now, but the freshen up of what the league is, the most notable thing, giving each league its own standalone grand finals, separate days, separate events, which did see us start on the Friday night out at Cessnock City Hornets Premier Ground, Turner Park. We did have reserve grade and first grade for Zone League 3 out there. We'll touch on the reserve grade game. We had Charlestown in there hosting Merewether United. Pretty gritty game, that one. But Charlestown did get the win with a 1-0 result there. It then went to the 8 o'clock kickoff game, which I could see you were already pretty tired at that point after one game already. But the first grade game, seeing Greta play host to Charlestown, obviously Charlestown getting both of their grades in the grand final, great achievement for them. Unfortunately, though, their first graders couldn't replicate their Resi's result, going 2-0 down to Greta. Cam, let you kick it off as you were the one commentating that one. Give us your rundown on that game.
Yeah, look, it really felt as though it could go the distance. It was in my mind going to be the closest game of the weekend in the first grade grand finals, and it sort of looked like that. It felt like that after the first half. Both teams are really in it. In fact, I think Charlestown probably just edged the first half. And, even the corner statistics, I think I mentioned a couple of times that it just kept going. And I'm pretty sure, 10 or 11 corners for Charlestown by halftime. It felt as though they could probably go on and get the job done. And then I think I say this every week, but the team that won just showed their quality. And it was really, put the game to bed in with the second goal. The first goal was a bit of a scramble, and it still felt like Charlestown could get something from it. But when that second goal went in, it sort of felt like Charlestown's heads just started dropping.
Both goals for Greta in quick concession as well, late in the 60th and then early in the 70th. That second one as well from Paul Connell, hitting the bar, almost might not have sealed it up, but yeah, good cross in from the wing. And yeah, it's funny you say though that you thought this one was going to be the closest with the previous results, as we touched on last week, being the most disparative of Greta getting 4-1 wins in both the other games. So credit to Charlestown for not letting that really obviously affect them. As you say, Charlestown played a very strong game as we looked at, and Wilso, you've seen Charlestown play the midfield of Zach Lloyd and Chester Wade. You'd always got to think that they would have manned as they did.
And I couldn't get to the game, but I watched it on Bar TV. And I'm with Cam. I thought at half time it was going to go to extra time or penalties. And even right up to when they scored, either side had chances. I thought Greta edged them and they deserved the win. But like Charlestown, they never went away, and it just hurt them. The second goal so quick. And but that's what the good teams do. They pounced and they took advantage of those two opportunities, and and then they just went into that mode of holding on for the grand final. Charlestown threw everything they had at them, but to be fair, it didn't really look like they were going to break them down. And it was just a workmanlike performance from Greta Brankston, and well done, minor and major premiers on the way up now. Could be very proud of their performance. And it was a good crowd, and it sounded like that on the it sounded like that on the TV, and it looked like that way. And it was it was a really good call from Cam, and enjoyed it. Enjoyed the game, watching it on Bar TV.
Yeah, and Cam, I don't know, maybe from your perspective, but my perspective, at the Cessnock ground, Turner Park, set up with two grandstands, one either end, whether by chance or not, both teams really took control of one grandstand each. So it was all the noise and the excitement was coming from either end, and you could really see that.
And it wasn't only just the grandstands. Over the side where the camera was, there was a bunch of people. I think you probably heard some bongos and some drums and stuff going on. There was a good atmosphere over that side. I had to stand up in the second half. I sat down the first half, stood up in the second because there was too many people in the way. But the atmosphere was great, and I think I said on Sunday that it was just a bigger and bigger atmosphere every day. But it was a great start to the weekend at Cessnock. It was a brilliant atmosphere.
Yeah, it definitely, like Bar TV captured it really well. There was some real sound, behind the, sometimes you can watch a game and it doesn't have that feel while you're watching it, like at a game, but you could feel what was going on at the ground. It was, and I agree with Cam there. It just kept on getting better and better over the weekend. That's not to take anything away from what, they dished up on the Friday night either.
Yeah. And they had to travel to Cessnock on the Friday as well. Exactly. So that sort of probably played a factor.
Yeah. And that is a good lead in then to the Saturday, where we saw Charlestown Missouri hosts at Lylecar Oval. Crowders Bay really hosting the day as they had all three teams in all three grades. Coming up against Merriweather Advance in the third grade and North United Wolves in reserve grade and first grade. Both the third grade and the reserve grade being decided by penalties. I can imagine, as we're talking about crowds, atmosphere, excitement, the first two games of the day going to penalties, you've got to think, is this where does the bar stop? You just keep pushing as the games go.
Well, the fairy tale just kept on continuing, didn't it? But it was, those early games, and I know a couple of the younger boys and some of the older boys in those teams, and it doesn't matter what level you play, how old you are, when you have to walk down to take a penalty in a penalty shootout, you are nervous.
Yeah.
I can remember doing it in an over 35s game, and I still felt nervous walking down. So it's such a great feeling, but it's all, when you score your penalty, it's just like this relief. It's almost like I've done my job.
Yeah,
I'm done. But it was just that even the penalty shootout had ebbs and turns, and there was a penalty save that had to be retaken. It pretty much had everything. And that for the reserve grade, I didn't see the third grade, but some great saves in that from the keeper. Well, also a couple of pretty ordinary.
I was going to say, you're touching on the nerves of the actual strikers coming up for their penalties, but then obviously also on the opposing them, the goalkeepers. And I do remember watching one save from Crowders Bay's Scott Carney, and the way he celebrated a save, like you would if you've just scored a penalty as well. Like there's both sides to a penalty shootout.
Yeah, it was overall very interesting. I had a few different times, Wilso and I sort of turned to each other and went, was that 3 saves, 2 saves? What's the score? It was such an up and down sort of moment for both teams. It felt like either team could win it in the shootout. And obviously Crowders Bay did pretty good over the weekend. And you sometimes, penalty shootouts I guess can be decided by luck, but they flipped the coin right twice for the reserves in Conference League.
I think Carney, is it Scott Carney?
Scott Carney, yeah.
His penalty saves and the way he moved, it was really good. It was a really good performance. Sometimes they just they're waiting or they dive early, but he summed it up really well. And I think we were saying up in the stands, he's going to save this again. He just looked like he was going to make the saves, and he did. And then he stepped up and took one himself as well. It was probably the best penalty of all. So he and all the Crowders Bay, both sets of fans were in behind the goals on either side, and the joy and the energy that's created when you win there, and you're celebrating with the fans. That was the start of that day. It was really it was energy charged stuff, right? Before the first game started.
Yeah, for sure. And I can say maybe his penalty on the day was a fluke, because I have seen him take one at a late at night at Mark's Point, and he did sky it. So, which one was a fluke? I'm not too sure.
It looked decent.
But we do then have that lead up to the last game of the day, Crowders Bay first grade taking on North United Wolves first grade. You got to think the pressure of those first grade boys in the pink and black coming out after both of their lower grade team and their teammates then go up in the hill, all there to watch them. The weight on your shoulders to not obviously crumble, and the narrative and the tradition of the whole season going unbeaten, 3 grades in a grand final, 3 grades to win it, and boy did they almost screw it.
Yeah, it was. It was the only game for first grade that went to extra time. It felt like, when you started going into extra time, it felt as though maybe it could have been another penalty shootout. It had that sort of feel to it, but to get to that point where it was a late equalizer as well really felt special for Crowders Bay. The energy it kept rising for everyone. And I don't know how. After 2 penalty shootouts moving into extra time, it was surely the supporters have got to get tired of this, but they just never did. The atmosphere was great again.
And the saying of a game of 2 halves or 2 ends, but this one really
4 halves.
Yeah, but also just in that 90 minutes plus, sorry. The Wolves goal coming through Bronson Marshall just in the 3rd minute, very early. Then William Sinello, then scoring very late. What, like, you boys there watching it, you surely couldn't have said the middle part of the game was unentertaining, but it would have just been 2 big teams, big players just coming at it, a real battle.
North United, they'd be probably on their Mad Monday thinking, how did that one get away?
Yeah.
They really played, they dominated again in the midfield. They dominated Crowders Bay. Crowders Bay started poorly again. Bronson Marshall, an opportunist type goal. We weren't sure who scored really in there at the time. But what a start for North United. But really, it didn't seem to get much better. Cam did it for 45 minutes at least. They got outplayed in midfield. I thought Bryant and Grant weren't in the game. They were struggling, and it was more of the same. I think second half. It wasn't like they ever looked like they were going to start to dominate. They were better. Crowders Bay. And this is not just me. This is Wayne Bailey sent me a message and said basically we were crap.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's harsh, but they kind of were. But they were resilient, and they never stopped going. He threw the subs on, and Sinello went on, I think maybe in the 70th minute, and to score in the 91st. And I think we said on the call, between to be leading for that long, and then and then there was 7 or 8 minutes of overtime or injury time, and in that 7 or 8 minutes, both sides went end to end. But you could just sense then that Crowders Bay had just got the ascendancy and had the courage they needed, and you could almost sense it was coming, the goal in extra time.
What that injury time that was added on, was that for any one occurrence? Maybe a Tom Curran cramp or something?
I'm not sure. There was like 7 or 8 minutes, wasn't it? Is that something that you?
There's just a bit of a joke swirling around. Chris Brain jumping the fence to go stretch Tom Curran out. There's a photo getting around.
No, I do remember right down in the corner. Wasn't it? Yeah. There was a big break. There was a few little instances in the game but it was 7 or 8 minutes. But so much happened in that 7 or 8 minutes. It was like, holy hell, this is going to really light up in extra time. And yeah, really, they just couldn't get out of their half in the period of extra time, the first one. And
obviously then Chandra Bright coming through the middle, just charging forward, getting his goal, captain leading from the front, I guess you could say. And just when you watch the replay back, or if you watched it live, you just see the emotion on his face.
Yeah.
I don't think he knew where to run in particular. Like, he's just in the moment, you think, I've just won it.
Yeah,
I've just won this game. We've just pulled it back.
I think the emotion of it is because you can, and I've been a real fan of Bryant's, but they did get outplayed. And so that can happen in grand finals. No matter how good you are, how good the team is, or how good a player you are, it can sometimes just not go right for you. And that kind of how it was happening for Chandra. But what I like about him is we're talking about the 100th minute. In a team that's been outplayed, he's seen a Tommy Curran just roll his man, just get on the outside of him. He gets to the byline. He knows he has to get there. It's like a McBreen type run. It's a James Kresner in the first division. You make the run, you get the reward. And he did. He tapped it in. But what he did he's ran from outside the 18-yard box. And that's what wins you the big games. It could have easily went to penalties if he didn't make that run. So I was really impressed with that. But that's what players like that do. And I think that's what you're talking about. I think the emotion of it, to go, I've just done that at the back end of not being great during the game. And yeah, it was a wild celebration.
Yeah. And you got to then think, Cam, condolences to the Wolves. Not probably the most enjoyable ride back to Maitland for them. 2 grades still, and a great achievement. And they did actually have their 3rd grade in finals early series as well. So again, a team that had all 3 grades. And yeah, you'd have to imagine if you take Crabs out of this division, as they will be next year, it's Norths to win now.
Yeah. I think Gary said that on the day. You know, it was sort of just, it felt as though once Crowders Bay go, Norths have really looked good at the second half of this season. And you got to feel pretty sorry for them after the way that they lost in a shootout, and then of course so late on.
Yeah.
It was a really good performance for the most part. You know, they, as Gaz said as well, you know, they played the midfield out of the game for Crowders Bay. Brian and Grant have been pretty phenomenal this season. I think both were Team of the Year nominees. And they were pretty much out of the game for almost 102 minutes. And then, of course, Bryant made that run and changed the complexion. And I think you said about the emotion as well. On the Zone League Instagram, there was a photo of his celebration. It was just, just, you could see how much joy there was. It was a very meaningful moment for the club, I think. And
you look at like Kieran Delaney played in front of the back four. Like their midfield was so good. Bronson Marshall. Like
Tobias King-Bell up top,
King Bell
getting
was
around.
so good. I was so impressed with him. I hadn't seen North United play this year, so I don't know what I was envisaging. Of how he looked.
Yeah.
So I just thought I thought he might have been this nippy little guy that was scoring goals, but he was this beast of a man up the top, and he did such a good job. And him going off, whether it was through injury or just fatigue, I think that made a difference. They kind of needed him at the end. But I was really impressed with him. So, like, going off the back of what we spoke about North United next year, but when you consider Bulwarra were really good as well, and then you got Greta coming up. So there's a real that derby type
Yeah.
in that league next year.
There won't be too many away games for a lot of those guys up in the Maitland Valley region.
So I think Bulwarra, I thought I was so impressed with them through the final series. So I think based on that, those two sides look like the teams to beat next year if they can build on what they did this year.
Yeah, and we then look to the final day of grand finals, which I know we've gone through this quick, but I feel like the weekend itself went quick as well. It was just bang, bang, bang games. Here we are, rock up Sunday at Darling Street Oval. Sun was out, ground was immaculate. Olympic had done great with the grounds itself. Put on a great show overall for the day as well. Lots of volunteers. It ran so smoothly. Sorry, I should have mentioned as well for the other grounds as well. Really appreciate everyone's efforts that they put in. But yeah, Sunday for the Zone League 1 grand finals. We kicked off the day with Conference League 1, seeing Dudley come up against Uni, and Uni probably getting a shock win over Dudley. Saw some of their faces after the game, also still probably shocked a little bit. But yeah, great game there. We then looked at reserve grade as well. Suns versus Mayfield Seniors, the only team for Suns in the finals, which you haven't probably heard that for the last few years. That one also in a bit of an upset, Mayfield getting the win there. But then we got to the 3 o'clock kickoff, the big one, the Newcastle Croatia coming up against Katara South. We previewed these teams previously in the finals. Unfortunately for Katara, they did go down in a bit of a beating. Early in the year, though, we said they beat Croatia, so it is possible. The Giants can fall. It was really around the ground speaking to people all day, being like, oh, what is your thoughts on the game? What's your predictions? And the sheer vastity of everyone's predictions, no one was on the same page, because it was one of those games where it could have gone either way.
100%.
Yeah, I think I probably didn't give Katara South the credit when I actually made my prediction. I don't know if I said it to anyone, but in my head I was going, after that 6-2 in the semi-final, I just felt Croatia would probably get on with it, but Katara South came out very, very strong. They were very good the entire game. And yeah, I mean, both teams are fiery. I don't think it sort of boiled over at too many points. There was a couple of flash points, but you could tell there was a lot of emotion surrounding it. The supporters were very involved as well, as all supporters across the weekend were. Yeah. But it was just the atmosphere again. I keep saying the atmosphere, but as I said, it just got better and better across the weekend, and it really came to a point that it was hard to hear myself at times, actually, with the supporters in front of us.
And I think that was one of the disappointing things for the Zone League 1 grand final, the way the camera was set up, looking over to the open field next to it, didn't really actually show. If you had flipped it from the other side, you would have seen you could barely move from one end of the ground to the other with the sheer amount of people. Croatia had their set up down the back end. Katara had their team gazebo set up at near the front gate, and then everyone else just sprawled across. And yes, where Bar TV was set up to call the game, that grandstand especially was quite vocal. Nothing unsportsman or anything, which was great. But yeah, really, I just say great atmosphere for the day.
Yeah, it was a great atmosphere, and like Cam alluded to, it was the players, it was the fans, it was the coaches. They're so close together down there. So you've got Brad Carlin in the middle there as the fourth official.
Almost as security.
He was. It was like moving to one side and settled down Big Pops, and then over to the Katara bench, and they were at each other. But that's what happens. Like, they're grown men. They're going to say things and they're going to argue over decisions, and that's what happened. But it was okay though. It was expected, and it didn't really boil over too much. But it just kept on creating just a little. They just kept on driving that the intensity up even
And the
more
longer
so.
the game drew out, the more frustrated the players become, the coaches become. If you're on the bench as a fresh sub, you're getting more frustrated. Let me out there, I could make the difference. And everyone's just getting heated.
Yeah.
And you almost think something will happen, whether it's a goal or
Or a
it's a
send-off or-
challenge.
yeah.
Yeah, something has to break. And it was then coming just around the 80th minute. Probably not the prettiest of goals or well-worked goals for what we would think
I
from
thought
these
he
two
took it
quality
well.
teams. The goal itself was good, but I guess the
sloppy,
before
yeah.
play, just a bit of pinging around, people in the box, getting on the ground, calls for penalties. And then, Josefsky just from outside just put his boot through it, far post, probably just caught the keeper wrong-footed, I guess.
Well, I'll take it back a bit. I thought it was a stunning game. I really enjoyed calling it. I really enjoyed watching it. I've said it loads of times this year when you're calling games. Sometimes you just don't want them to end, or you're not really going for either team. You just want action, and it was end to end. Croatia's transition was just. It was fast, but it was intelligent, but that was what they had to do because I thought Katara completely dominated the first half when it came to the midfield play. Lynch was amazing in midfield. O'Sullivan was brilliant, and Cooper Toby. I thought they controlled the midfield. They dropped into a back five really quickly, which we spoke about, Cam. But on the way out, Croatia's 6 was sitting deep. And it just created because Toby dropped in, and it created a 3v2. And we're talking about some pretty good midfielders in that Croatian team. We're talking about Calburn, who didn't really get a kick. And he's basically taken this competition by storm all year. But O'Sullivan and Lynch in particular,
just closed him down, didn't give him the time.
They were terrific, and I'm really happy for both of them because I know both of them. Sort of know them. But they're just, I just saw that, I do know them. I coach both of them. So
he stalks them a little on the side, but
But I just thought they were really good. And I thought Cooper Toby did a great job as well because he got back and defended and helped create the 3v2, but he was still getting forward. And Jansen up the top, again, against Michael Sessions, who I rate as one of the best defenders in the last 10 to 15 years in Newcastle. He made that game really tough. We're talking about a very good defender.
Yeah.
And he just made it so difficult. And what he did, he made the chances for Pfeiffer. Yep. And on another day, Pfeiffer takes a couple of them.
That was someone for me that really stood out. And whether it was his attacking runs that he was making, some of the balls he was putting through, or just the fact that with Jansen creating those gaps for Pfeiffer to run into, made his game look a lot better and more involved. And the crazy thing is, I think both teams had their chances. Could you say one team over the other had the clearer ones? I'm not too sure.
I think Katara did.
From my recollection, I think Katara probably had more chances.
And that's taking nothing away from Newcastle Croatia. They're taking all before them. And sometimes you just don't get it totally right on grand final day. And a couple of players might be a little bit down. But I think it was more that Katara South was so organised. Like they dropped into the back five, but they didn't have gaps in between their midfield. And they had everything loaded, but they were prepared to work hard off transition. And they just worked so much harder than Katara in that sense. And that's why they stayed in the game, and that's why they made the chances. And I think even Pops he'd have to agree that Katara, even leading up into the goal for Josefsky, they had a couple of good chances up the other end. They had more corners, but the good teams find a way, and they still had the class. Demarani gets it on the left. He sort of scrambles it across, but it was a good cross back post. But like we spoke to with Cam during all the way through the game with CT, Josefsky just gets to the back post.
Yeah.
And it was a great battle between him and Jack Reed-Jones. I thought it was probably the battle of the game. But he just found enough. I think it got someone went to clear it. It might have even been Jack. I don't know. But it just fell for him. And like you said, the lead up was a bit scrappy before it, but he just nailed it. It just come down at the right height for him. His technique was good, and the keeper didn't move. So that tells you a lot about the finish.
Yeah, 100%. And like, not to discount as well, just go back for a bit. McDonald and McGuinness up top were still causing so much trouble. Just to say that they may have not had the chances to put the ball goalward, they were still absolutely everywhere.
No, they really were.
You would have thought, if you go up and ask one of the Qatar defenders, how do you feel, they would have been knackered, surely.
They would have been, but they got into that back five and they made it so hard for them. We're talking about two very good players there again that have, I saw
McGuinness probably get pushed wider a lot than what he probably
They
is
changed. They kept on changing. I saw Calvin go to the bench and try and change the midfield around because he understands the game. He knows they're getting done in midfield. And it did. He went to 10 and they had the 2 6s next to each other. Ricky Franks went back in and they still had good games. I'm not saying they didn't have good games. Yeah. They just I just thought the Qatar side just did everything right, bar score. Yeah. But Croatia got they had a couple of chances as well. But let's not forget about Serpa, who was given the Harry Stenzel man of the match. But he's great to watch. He's tough to watch. He's very difficult to watch. But you love to watch him. He's a show pony.
He was a very big showman of the day for sure.
I loved watching him. He was riling the crowd and he's up like one of those dressage horses when he's kicking the ball.
He had a very interesting goal kick run up, bit of forward, bit of back. It was almost like a tango with the ball.
I don't think he got the yellow card in the end, but he probably should have gotten a yellow card in the end. But it was just, he started his run up, stopped like you said, and the referee actually went, if you do that again, I think it's going to be a card. And then he did it again and didn't get carded. So he just sort of went on with it in that sense. But yeah, he did have a good game. Another CT choice on the Harry Schnetzel man of the match. That was, I think Wilso and I were saying, probably the goal scorer. Jasewski was getting up and down the entire game.
We did. I think we both agreed on it. Yeah. And CT went down there and started interviewing and the big Serpa come over. But he did keep him in the game. Yep. He made probably 5, I wouldn't say world-class saves, but they were top-notch saves that kept them in the grand final.
Probably any lesser goalkeeper maybe would have left it.
They were brilliant saves. So he's like, we'll talk rocks and diamonds. There's so much noise going on around him, but what he gets paid for is, well, if he gets paid, is to make saves. And he made at least 3 or 4, point blankers off Pfeiffer. He's worthy. I just thought Jasewski, the battle up and down, and we're talking about both of them players moving up and down that sideline. It was really good to watch, and he's underrated, Jasewski. I like him as a player.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm sure we could sit here and chat just for hours on end about this game, other games as well. But yeah, just what a way to end, as I said at the start of the night, what a way to end the season that has been, wrapping it all out. And I'm sure, everyone, I know we're all unanimous in our decision, but I'm sure everyone, the players, coaches, clubs, everyone involved with this year, obviously, we've sat here many a times this season going, well, there's no football this week. There's more rain. Great. The fields are washed out. All the downside to then finish on this much of a high was a really, really good way to wrap it out with all these results and games. Well done to all the teams, all the players, everyone involved. Congratulations to Greta, Crowders Bay and Newcastle Croatia, not only on their grand final wins, but their premiership wins and their promotions into the next divisions. Definitely going to be interesting to see if we just put a little pin in what could be next year. You got to imagine all 3 of these teams definitely going to be challenging in their next divisions next year.
I think. I think Croatia will go up to the Northern. I think they'll do well. I think they'll keep on picking up players. The club's on the up. Greta, I feel like they're going to continue. They've put some good things in place up there. I think Crowders Bay, they need to recruit, but they're going into it's a good tough league. You take Croatia out of it, that's probably just going to even it out even more so. Yeah. every game's going to be a tough one. I think McBreen will be back. He'll be a year older though, but they still need him. I think they really still need him. They need to pick up a couple more. Hopefully, Tommy Curran sticks around, and they've got some really good young boys there. But it's going to be, I think that's probably going to be the toughest transition. I might be proven wrong, but I feel that's moving into ZFL 1 on the back of what they've done it's amazing. Yeah. But I think they're going to have to rise it even more to get into the top 2 or 3.
Yeah, for sure. Cam, your thoughts?
Realistically, I think looking at it, I'm probably seeing, at least from Greater and Cratis Bay, possibly mid-table, bottom of mid-table teams. I wouldn't expect either to really get relegated next season. I think they both have the quality to go up and stay up. Not so certain on, how Croatia will go going up. Not necessarily my specialty on that league, but I think they have a lot of quality, and I think they're going to be pretty solid in recruitment again with the names that they already have at the club. So I'm sure they'll be pretty solid up there as well. But yeah, I think Cratis Bay and Greater both going up. Maybe not quite pushing at the top of the table, but certainly I don't think it's going to be a relegation battle for either of those teams.
Yeah, and not to speak too much on the gloom of the other side of things, but we have Thornton Redbacks coming into Zone League 1. We unsure with Azuri not coming back next season who will make up a spot in Zone League 2, but it is confirmed that Mayfield Juniors will be joining Zone 3. So if we touch on just quickly, Thornton into Zone 1, Mayfield into Zone 3. I don't know, for me, I think Mayfield really had a struggle this year. I think their whole playing group, coaching, everything may have it wasn't really set from the start. To start uncertain was never going to play out well for them. So I think going down, just resetting, regrouping, probably great. Maybe the same, you probably know more about Thornton being in that NPL system. Maybe the same for Thornton. If they can retain some of their players, who's not to say that they still challenge, albeit the bottom of Northern League 1 still challenge in Zone League 1.
Yeah, I agree with Mayfield Juniors. I think you're right. I think they just need to reset and start again and go back and go, okay, this is our plan. Let's find a way to move back up. It may not take 1 or 2 years. It might take 3, but let's get something in place so we're back enjoying our football, getting results, and then we'll see where we head from there. Thornton coming down is an interesting one. That competition was so close. Thornton were right there almost to make the semis, 2 weeks to go. Yeah. And then with a minute to go, they're still in 3rd or 4th last. They concede a goal next door, Walls End get one, and they're going down. Yeah. So they're not far off being a semi-final team, and now they've found themselves in the ZFL 1. So I think if they keep their players, which is the big one, because they might be looking to move, to stay in the league they've come from. If they do, I think they'll be reasonably hard to beat. I think their transition will be okay. It does depend on if they keep their players. Yeah,
you got to think their club infrastructure being in that northern system coming down will be beyond leaps and bounds others. So. But really retaining those players. Cam, any thoughts from you for those 2 teams?
Again, I didn't really see much of either over the course of the season, so not certain how they look. But I think in all of world football, you really look at relegation as, obviously, as a team going down, you don't want to go down. But as you've sort of said, it's an opportunity just to rebuild and regather. And, you can do that and really build up again in a weaker competition, I suppose, and really start looking to build again. And, even a couple of seasons further down, you get recruitment better. You potentially bring in some more youngsters as well, and something might change, and you get more confidence, more ability to go up again, which is, the positive side of relegation, I suppose.
Yeah.
You got to get lucky with your younger players coming through. There could be a diamond in there that can lead you along quicker than, you may have thought. So
Well,
yeah,
Mayfield Juniors, besides the name stating, they do have quite a few younger teams. So maybe that's all it takes.
Yeah,
Maybe you look from afar, but also just look at what you've got already, bringing them up.
Yeah,
I remember their final game against Crowders Bay this season. They played a 15-year-old, and he held his own. So who's to say there's not many more of those at the club?
And going down a division, they might be able to play younger players more regularly and give them experience and get them moving quicker. So yeah, I'm sure they're disappointed. They would be. No one wants to get relegated.
Of course, yeah.
But yeah, you've just got to try and take the positives, which is difficult at first, but you just got to get the job done. You don't want to go down again, or for something like Thornton, obviously, they don't want to go down again. But I don't think that'll happen. But
no.
if they lose players, it can fall apart quickly. So they've got to be careful, because they're still coming into a very good league.
Definitely.
Teams like Katara South are going to be, from what I saw of them, they'll be very difficult to beat next year.
100%. And not to end on that dull point, but to brighten it back up, this Friday we do have the ZFL presentation night, the awards night for the season, recognising all the accolades of those who have achieved great things. We've got multitudes of awards. We've got Golden Boots, Goal of the Year, Golden Gloves, all the Coaches of the Year, Players of the Year, Team of the Year, as well as, Cam, you touched on before, the shortlist that came out. So that's now being narrowed down, voted by the peers and of clubs from all those leagues. So, big night ahead. You'll both be there. Maybe get to see us up on the stage as well, presenting some of those awards. Follow.
And it's black tie, isn't it?
It is black tie, very, very formal, very fancy.
Very formal.
So yes, for the inaugural time of doing it, it's going to be very exciting. Exciting for all of us involved. The behind the scenes, up on stage and everything, but mainly for the players and the clubs, really recognising what they've done and all of that. And for those that aren't able to make it to the event itself, keep an eye on our social medias, both on Facebook and on Instagram, as we'll be updating all of those with the award recipients as soon as they happen. So even if you're at home, you can follow along. Best of luck to all the clubs that are coming and maybe up for awards. Other than that, enjoy your rest. We're done. I'm sure some players, some clubs are eager and raring to get back into pre-season before the year's end. But now it's time. I'll be pushing the boys hard. Yeah, they don't get too much of a rest there. But no, it is good. Everyone's deserved it. We've had a big year, so I definitely think we deserve it, even if others don't. But yeah, it's been great to do what we've done this year, and I'm sure we'll be bringing you bigger and better things next year. 2 of you coming back next year?
Yeah, and just a big shout out to Bar TV. It's been a great support, and it's really put, it's not that it wasn't on the map, but I think it's, put it further on the map, and you've got people talking about the zone leagues again. And a shout out to Cam. I thought it's terrific working with you, Cam. The commentary's great. And it's a breath of fresh air to have around instead of Gareth all the time. I just thought, it was a really good year. Good CT was, he's in
of course,
and out.
CT,
But he's always, he's there on the weekend and interviews. He always gets things going. So
his thing with the Minions on the weekend, that was a hard watch. But he enjoyed himself. That's what mattered. What mattered.
No, he did.
Yeah. But I guess for the final time this year, this has been the Zone In podcast. Cheers for watching, and we'll see you next time.
This is the Zone Football League.